Okay, today, guys, we are reacting to Casual Geographic, the terrifying truth behind the aliens that never left. And I'm Landon, and this is
Oliver.
And together we are OwlGamer. Yeah.
All right, let's react.
You know, Satan was onto something. Just not sobriety. When he let his sketchbook get uploaded into the ocean.
Yo.
A breaststroking body
That's kinda
snatcher
cool,
to
though.
a semi-sentient
They're kinda
Sarlacc
creepy.
pit. The
Ew.
greatest trick the
Actually
government
are,
ever pulled was
though.
stacking
What?
billions
Bro,
and
what
billions
is
of
that?
dollars
What
expanding
is
into
that?
That's
space
actually weird.
Before reconciling with the ET-ish already in our face. The sea star and his freak show of
Oh, what?
South body
Bro, what?
It's creepy, bro.
The Starfish
brother,
What is that?
has 5 classes and
Echinoderm?
about
I don't know.
7,600
Starfish,
species across
obviously.
those classes. Each has
Bro, that's a
viscerally
scientific
disturbing
name.
and
Bro,
brutally
this is
unnerving
disgusting.
as the next. The starfish are so freaked out for Earth, their
Oh,
scientific
what? Bro,
name
that's
is
like a.
asteroid
Bro,
name.
what?
If a report comes out that aliens have been
Asteroidia?
stowed away in the seas this
Stop
entire
yapping.
time, the number one suspect would be Lucifer's loofah. The first red flag is starfish ignored the concept of blood. Instead, they got an open seawater circulation system
Yo,
that actually makes a lot of
that's kinda
sense
cool,
when you
though.
realize how they move.
So their
It
blood
starts
is
with
the ocean.
madreporite,
That's
a
actually
plate
cool,
that's like
though.
the front door of its
Like,
system
honestly.
that's almost intentionally off-center to remind you that symmetry is an earthly concept. Water moves in through the madreporite through canals until they eventually reach the tube feet, which is how this Lovecraftian fidget spinner goes mobile. Because when the valve closes and the eye drop coated ampulla contract, it shoots water into the tube feet and forces them to extend. And when the extended tube foot hits a hard surface, the center retracts, forming a seal that only breaks when it's time to move
Bro,
on and
what
stick to something
is that?
else.
Ew.
Thousands of tube feet
It's
doing
not
this
even look
dance
good.
is how a sea star can move faster than a facehugger ever should. Maybe that wouldn't be as disturbing if sea stars couldn't also see. Starfish have
They
eyes.
can see?
It's just that if
That's
you
actually
were
not
real,
good.
you'd be
Patrick,
standing.
nah, that's
Nah.
wild.
We've known that
Bro.
starfish have eyes at the end
Don't
of their
compare
arms
this
for
to my
200 years.
to my
The question is,
royal
what is
buddy.
sight to an animal
That's
without
wild.
a brain? Likely something beyond our comprehension. Kind of like the time someone told me blind people don't just see black, they just see nothing.
Oh.
I went nonverbal for
That's-
5 minutes fumbling with the
okay.
concept. It's believed that sea stars don't see the world like you and me. Instead, they see the world in lights, darks, and shadows. One experiment tested this by going to a reef in Japan and pretty much circumcising their eyes with scissors. After that, they took the eyeless sea
What?
stars and those
Stop
that
being
didn't
rude.
get theirs lopped off and placed them away from their reef home base. The result was the uncut starfish immediately booked it to the reef, while the eyeless ones were left Stevie wondering about the next.
It's actually
It
weird,
was
though.
also found that even starfish living where sunlight isn't a concept can see, and out of the 13 species pulled out of the deep sea, all but one of them had eyes, including Novadinia americana, which has giant pupils and
Oh, that
arguably the
looks-
best vision of this
Did you see that?
Bro, that looks like an
Like
octopus.
Mardi Gras, they would flash whenever excited.
Oh, that
Except
looks good,
instead of
though.
flesh, they'd flash
That
light.
looks good.
In fact,
You-
some
would you
deep
eat
sea stars
that?
are
I feel like I
bioluminescent,
would.
and many
Dang,
believe
bro.
that this brainless mess of impulses can communicate through that light.
I feel like
Now
I
let's talk
actually
about
would
that
eat
last
Oh
that.
my
It
god.
honestly makes everything
Nah,
seem
eat
squishy
that,
and
bro.
real.
Chill.
No, definitely not eat
Instead
that,
of a
but that's
brain,
like
the sea star has a
disgusting.
tangled ring of neurons that link signals coming from the arms. But the thing with starfish being brainless is there is no grand central station for signals. Everything's localized, and signals can start from anywhere. Once one arm decides to move,
Wow.
that moment it becomes the dominant arm, with all the other ones following its lead. Speaking of arms, they don't always stop at 5. The Antarctic sunfish can have
Okay,
up
that's
to
weird.
50. It's a democratic
50
hive mind that
arms? I can never
transcends
have that
past the
many
need for
arms.
thought. Sea stars are like
That would not be very funny.
Bro, that'd be like- if you lose one arm, you'll be good.
Yeah, you'd have 49 others.
Starfish and people start life
So many
the
other
same way
arms.
they live most of it, as in its whole. And there's no time a
Hey.
starfish identifies more than when it eats. Because the way they feed was straight up ripped out of a scene from Meat Canyon.
Oh my
The best
God.
way to describe how
Ooh,
horrific
bro,
nature
Meat
made
Canyon
this
Bro,
is
what
so
is
bad.
that?
to describe what it's like to be
Oh
hunted
yeah,
by one.
I love that
Imagine
series.
minding your business when an almost animatronic manifestation of greed pulls up on you and slaps an arm on your face.
Bro,
Or then
that's
there's
wild.
hundreds of suction
I'll
cups to your
pass.
feet to pull your jaws apart and force your mouth open. And not only are starfish way stronger than they should
Force
be,
my
your
mouth
jaw would
open?
get tired before he does. And the moment your muscles give and allow half a millimeter of an opening, the starfish would then casually eject its stomach out of its mouth and shove it down your throat, just to release enzymes to cook you alive and basically digest you from the inside. You'd probably
Ew.
scream if you didn't already get your
The-
lower
what?
level solved. The last thing you'd see
So
is the
dis-
I'm so happy it's only in the morning, we haven't
Bro,
ate
that's
yet.
actually disgusting, bro.
I'm so happy we haven't ate yet. Like, bro.
I would have been throwing up right now.
Disgusting, bro.
I hope y'all haven't been eating either.
Yeah, bro, this is
Like I
disgusting.
said, that involves using
Hey, foreshadowing, bro. This is not.
Foreshadowing.
This
until
is-
the muscles give out, which might just make it the worst persistence hunter. Because imagine playing tug of war with an animal with no working concept of tired, and where giving up just a tenth of a millimeter can get your inside turned into soup. And we're talking about a predator
Kinda
that'll
cool,
spend
though.
not
Death.
just hours, but
That's kinda
days
cool what they
pulling
can
the
do,
clam
though.
apart. They'll also
Honestly.
eat sponges like they're coral cotton candy.
Bro, it's like sponge,
I
bro.
don't think the implication even needs to be explained. In fact, Patrick would have murked SpongeBob, his family, the kid they raised. I don't know if Buddy got a name, but he would have got packed up too. Their only chance would be Gary using family ties to try and
Nah,
put an
Gary
A on
is
it.
wild.
Pacific
Bro,
trait,
Gary would
being
not
one
do
of the few
anything.
animals able to
Gary's
prey on
not him.
the starfish.
Not that kind of him.
The starfish will prey on
Gary's
anything
cool,
that ain't nailed
but
down.
Not that
As part-time
cool.
scavengers, they'll also remove the dead like a garbage disposing job of the hut. A mother octopus's prize for loving her kids almost to death is a starfish dragging her off to a certain one. Starfish are also common predators to other starfish, as
What?
this one is now finding out
Cannibalism?
the arms of themselves.
Exactly.
They're different
Exactly.
species, so technically not cannibalism. Some owls eat other owls, and some cats cook other cats. So a sea star dissolving another star isn't cannibalism, unless they're the same species. Which they also do, by the way.
Oh my
Two
God.
researchers wanted to find out
Oh
just
my
what would
God,
happen
bro.
if a
What
bunch
is
of
wrong with
baby
you?
sea stars were
Freaking
introduced to a
starfish, man.
possibly predatory crab. They never would, because the sea stars started eating each other before the crab even got involved. Imagine the Joker pulling up to find the hospital already got leveled by a receptionist. There's a good chance this friendly fire is how
Nah.
the odds.
Bro, I don't know what I would
Just
say.
millions of eggs that get
Cool.
because an animal with no conscience is physically incapable of finding a to give, which is why the Australian government had to go to war against them. It'll never not be Australia. The crown of thorns.
That's true.
Yeah, they got
That's true.
spiders,
That's
starfish.
actually true.
Eating the literal life out of reefs. The Great Barrier Reef is one of the most biodiverse spots on the planet, and in the last 30 years, 42% of its
1985,
coral has
2012.
disappeared because of the Devil's Tiara. The response was over
That's a lot,
250,000 thorn demons were perp walked off the
27
census,
years.
with them getting
Not
one
bad.
shot of vinegar. Apparently, vinegar has a 100% kill rate against a starfish, and just one injection causes them to fall apart. It means one shot of vinegar can do what used to take multiple injections, and can speedrun their downfall, with trained divers erasing as many as 1,000 living thorns in just one 40-minute dive. Which you could be fooled into feeling bad for if the crown of thorns wasn't also a threat to people. Starfish contain saponins, a detergent-y type of chemical that foams if you shake it in a bucket.
Yeah, it's like a
the
sap from a
starfish's
tree.
spines enter your body. A mess of saponin does too. It can cause not
Bro,
only
what
extreme
is
pain,
that?
bleeding, and
That's blood.
swelling, they can destroy blood cells and cause crippling liver damage. The chances you get subtracted by a sea star are low.
Looks like I'm not going to the ocean.
Exactly.
In 2014, a woman
I feel like
was
that's just
struck
on the
by a
coast,
crown of
though.
thorns and died 13
I mean,
hours later of
I'm
anaphylactic
still-
shock. A death where her throat closed in and suffocated her. Her liver looked like 6 rounds of alcoholism, and a hemorrhage
Alcoholism.
That's my favorite.
So yeah, the
Bro,
crown of
what?
thorns like an ocean landslide. Their potential is worthy of the same treatment. Well, maybe not, because we've microdosed the world without starfish. It's not good. One of the all-time creepiest diseases has been massacring the starfish population.
Because that looks
so
disgusting.
bad
is
I don't know
that?
what that is, bro. There's
Bro, that's crusty,
Sea star
dusty,
wasting
and
disease
rusty,
starts
bro.
with
Sea star
starfish
wasting
seemingly
disease.
starving itself and managing to seem even more lethargic than usual. That's when the white lesions start forming all over the starfish, followed by the tissues melting around the lesion. At this point, the star's water vascular system fails as the victim deflates. The starfish becomes immobilized as its vessel deteriorates and
Kinda cool.
arms fall off, except this time, there is no growing back. The end game is the starfish now reduced to a pile of white bushy goo. Wasting disease
God.
affects over 20 species of sea star, with a body count in the billions. The first recorded plague was on the East Coast in 1972, then again in 1978. In 2013, the blight abolished over 5 billion, and in some parts off British Columbia, you couldn't even see the seabed because it was too littered with formerly star-shaped corpses. The disease has ravaged sea stars from Baja California all the way to the Gulf of Alaska, and some, like the sunflower sea star, have had their numbers cut down by 90%.
Oh
And with
my
all these
God.
sea stars
Oh my God,
missing,
90%.
There's only like
Wow.
10% left.
Yeah, that's
wild,
kinda
and
wild.
absolutely decimate the
That species better go out.
Yeah, they might
While
just say
most
goodbye, bro.
suspected this kill switch was flipped by a virus, but after 4 years of research, the truth was revealed. Turns out, it's actually a bacteria, Vibrio pectinicida, that's causing starfish to spontaneously dissolve. I call them zombies, but zombie starfish was already a concept straight out of the pages of Satan's favorite author. Because he made that one too. And they're not even the zombies that give you the respect of moving at quarter speed, because brittle stars are the fastest echinoderms, and if you have arachnophobia, I'm about to lose your business. Brittle stars move like sea spider imitations that, again, aren't that fast, but are entirely too fast for an animal looking like that. Their swimming's a lot prettier, though, even if it is the opposite of efficient in how I swim in my dreams. To be fair, dreams are the only place I can't swim, but I'm working on it. Like the sea star, they're a mess of tangled nerve cords spilling into the arms. But unlike the sea star, brittle stars don't have eyes. Instead, the CSTD sees with its skin. Extraocular vision means brittle bandits use proteins in the skin called opsins to sense light. Pretty much, the light hits the proteins, which sends a response to the brittle star to make it move out of the light. Meaning its entire body is technically an eye, which is why it's a star that also fears the sun, since brittle stars spend most of the day hiding under rocks and crevices, so any light sends them scrambling out of the spotlight like roaches. Some aquariums even train brittle stars to associate the lights dimming with food. food, and so they would all just crawl out of the woodwork whenever someone would lower the lights. Not bad for an animal that's brainless and has to poop out of its mouth. A mouth
That's
that has
true,
5
actually.
jaws, by the way.
They poop
Which
out
is
of
the
it.
last thing
What?
you'd see if you got
It's
marked
actually
by one,
disgusting.
because any prey caught in those spines
just
would get
tasting
crushed to
that,
death before being
bro.
digested.
I mean, they
Even
probably
something
can't even
like a
taste.
squid can get
That's
got
true.
if it dicks around in a hit range of a bunch of riddles. And considering what we know
Maybe they
about
can.
squid,
Who knows?
I don't think
Yeah,
you could dream of a worse way to
I'm not a
tell
fan of
it
this
was.
fight.
Brittle
Of
stars
this
also
stuff.
catch bodies passively through suspension hunting, but the most cursed version of an already cursed animal is a suborder of brittle stars called Urylina, aka basket stars. I don't even know what nature thought it was doing with this fractal fuckery. Basket stars
what?
only have
No
5
swearing!
arms, just that they proceed
looks
to
like a
branch
spider,
off into
honestly.
straight nonsense.
Yeah, that thing
Arms
looks
lined with
yuck.
hooks and spines,
Yeah.
and when they catch something alive, it'll wrap its arms together and form a basket around its prey. After which, the semi-sentient spiderweb uses tube feet to work the creature entombed in mucus and spines towards its sarlacc pit of a mouth. It's basically getting eaten alive by a bush. A bush that can move, mind you.
Yeah,
The
it's kind of
giant
like
basket star
That's
will
like
hide here
Fortnite
ever since
level.
the day,
Yeah.
only to
You
climb on
get
top of the
double
world
pumped by a
at
bush.
night.
Yeah,
Also,
that's
they
wild.
get pretty big. Organcephalus is named after Medusa's headshot, and they can have arms as long as 2.5
Bald mammoth
feet.
pistol,
Just
yeah.
a nightmare of an animal related to a starfish, but as cursed as a cancer
No, don't do
can
it.
be, the feather star is equally as ethereal. This biblically
Oh, that
accurate
isn't-
angel
that
is a
looks like a-
crinoid. There's 2 classes of crinoids: the marine tickle monster right here, and the
Tickle
sea
monster.
lily. The difference is feather stars seem to have unlocked free will, while sea lilies settle down and plant themselves in one spot via a stalk. But let it be known, sea lilies can always drag themselves away when they're motivated enough. And if you're enough to make a sea lily want to walk away, consider that an insult of the highest order. It really is a living fossil, with crinoids being around for about 500 billion years, so basically
that's
the
a long
granddaddy
time.
of all the nonsense in the ocean.
Yeah, they've been
So it
alive
makes
for a
sense that they
while.
also have
Yeah.
some of the wildest plot armor too. Crinoids survived several extinctions, including the infamous Permian Triassic, which realistically should have been the end of them. It also turns out the same ocean warming that destroys coral has 0 effect on a feather star. In fact, science says they actually regenerate faster when the heat gets raised. This forgotten feather duster was around before us, and best believe they'll be here long after.
Kinda
And
cool,
yeah,
though.
their arms can regenerate, and some can have up to 150 on standby, which they
Oh my
need because
God.
a feather star also has a lot of groupies. But in this case, the
Bro.
star's the one getting screwed. There are animals whose entire personality is mooching off a feather star, and they even evolved
If
to
they
have
lose an
the
arm,
exact
they're
same color.
good.
Once one of these
They have 100
rhinos
they have
find their
149
feather,
more.
they feed on it,
They're
either by
good.
chewing on its
They
individual
won't
form
even
of
feel
arms,
it.
or by
Exactly.
feeding on its feces. Interviews fresh out the pages of Dr. Seuss, with relationships almost as toxic as his marriage. If you know, you know. One fish, two fish, dead fish, new fish. Except we're not talking about fish, and I will not be elaborating further. But the feather star
Okay.
doesn't have it nearly as bad
Oh
as the
my God.
sea cucumber. Hint: they look like what they eat. It's a bottom feeder in every sense of the word, a detrivore living off the dead and decaying. They use tentacles to shovel sediment into their system, where they digest anything organic and eject the rest. Which means the sand is actually cleaner coming out than going in. And by recycling all the organic nastiness no one else will, sea cucumbers help prevent the same algae blooms that can suffocate fish. Not to mention their bowel bricks help seagrass grow and even contains calcium
That's
carbonate,
disgusting,
which
bro.
not only builds the skeleton of coral, it even helps reverse ocean acidification. Mind you, a group of sea cucumbers is called a pickle, and a reef's worth of pickles can produce up to 70,000 tons of poop a year.
Well, that's
It's
a lot. That's a
estimated
lot
that
of poop, bro.
cucumbers on Heron Island release 5 Eiffel Towers worth of product. And yet, with all they give back to the community, some decide that's not enough. With some, like the pearlfish, using the cucumber as a personal panic room by forcing their way through the squishy's poop chute. The same brown eye they breathe through, and it's not just one squatter they have to deal with. One cucumber can have 15 pearlfish packing its prostate. I mean,
Oh
what's
my
he gonna
God.
do about it?
It's
He
disgusting.
ain't got no hands. What they do have are teeth. Yeah, that's not its mouth. The other form of self-defense involves violently ejecting the bowels out of the cloaca and respawning the organs they sacrifice in a
This
spectacle
thing
called
yucky.
visceral
That is disgusting,
regeneration.
bro.
But they can be trigger happy.
This-
Some cucumbers butt confetti themselves if you
Discord,
pick them up too fast. Oh, also, sea cucumbers aren't terminally grounded. Some can fill themselves up with water and fly through the water column, covering almost 60 miles in a day.
Bro,
The headless
how?
chicken evolved water wings.
I
to
can't even
take
go that
flight.
It's like a
fast.
headless
Probably
chicken,
the
bro.
closest to cute a sea cucumber is capable of. Or at least it would be if I didn't also just remember sea pigs are a thing. But
Oh, yeah,
none of
sea
that
pigs are
changes
a
the
thing,
fact
yeah.
that sea cucumbers
Ugh, I
get
don't like those
violated so
things.
regularly that nature had to spike stripe their sinkhole down south, which the sea
He's
urchin
cooking
somehow
on eating
decided
right
it wanted for its mouth. The sea urchin's teeth are self-sharpening, and they use it to scrape algae from rocks. Without them, that algae would smother coral and kill it, along with anything that depends on it. Which is surprising, because most would swear sea urchins only exist to f with the natural order. Imagine being so universally hated, you give clout to other animals just by them murking you. Whether you have the pretty privilege of an otter or the personality of a wolffish, you can make an honest name for yourself off clapping urchins for a living.
The-
It seems
Hey,
no one
yo.
likes a sea
The
urchin.
what?
What if I show
You
No,
say
you
have
the-
clapping urchins for a living? Bro, what?
Cut.
Nah, cut that, bro.
That
What?
is a sea urchin skeleton, also referred to as a test. And let it be known the test has failed, I still feel nothing. Well, I do feel pity, because many suffer from underwater alopecia, where a parasite can
What is
cause their
that?
spines to fall out. And as someone who's a few follicles away from a first-class flight to Turkey, that's tough. But sea urchins don't get smacked by life and just take it. They have one of the most unhinged forms of self-defense. They'll eject their jaws and launch them like a projectile. Petacellaria are tiny, wrench-like pinchers that scientists thought were parasites because they can fully move on their own. Instead, some urchins release a cloud of these mobile jaws that can home
The
in on a
Venus flytrap.
and release
Yo.
venom if they penetrate past
Ed,
the
Ed,
skin.
and Eddie.
Despite
Oh,
the
Bro, I love
fact
that. I love
yeah,
that show,
same.
bro.
functioning jaws
I love
laden
it,
with
bro. That's like back in the
toxins,
day,
which is a
good
lot
show,
better
bro.
than being a cucumber.
I watched that when I was
Yeah, I love Ed and Eddie.
It was fire.
Ed, Ed, and Eddie's like.
You can't disagree that.
I mean, it's fire, bro.
Yeah.
So the real horror movie would be The World Without Him. And on that note, that's going to do it for this video. Drink water, hug your mother, don't touch
Okay.
starfish, they can't consent. Tell your father you love him, and I'm going to see y'all in the next one.
Well, peace, bro. Alright, pause it.
Dang.
Alright.
Oh, yo, that
Okay,
was
well,
that was
Guys,
that
that
was
was
kinda-
that was honestly a good video. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, that was very
that
well
was pretty
edited.
good. It was
That
like
disgusting, but it was
yeah,
good.
it's honestly kind of like weird, but it's honestly kind of like
It's
learning, I
good.
guess.
Yeah.
it's like a bit of both. It's like disgusting, like
As
yeah.
of the recording of this video, it's Sunday. I can't believe we're learning on a Sunday, bro.
I know exactly. Well, if you guys liked the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications.
And remember, we're OwlGamer, and we will see you next time.